Let's see what we got. All right. So I've got two things to share. Let me share this. All right. We ready?
Yep.
Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Adam Rubin, and I am a founder and a partner at Two Revolutions. And we have a really exciting opportunity to share with you. We are offering a certificate and a full master's, depending on your choices. And I'll explain that through this webinar in competency-based and personalized learning. And today I'm going to spend a few minutes introducing you to the program and answering some questions. Okay, so we have developed this program based on three key challenges we see around professional learning offerings. We see learning is much more time-based and it's not as learner-driven. Knowledge acquisition is still much more of the coin of the realm than skills and dispositions that are really needed in the field. And then the credentials available are not as aligned with the demand that the most innovative schools and districts and charter networks are looking for. So for these three reasons, we, in partnership with Southern New Hampshire University, have developed this certificate and master's opportunity. So who are we? As I mentioned a minute ago, I am a founder and a partner in Two Revolutions. And we partner with districts and states and higher ed around the country. And we really help them define their future of learning, and then we help them build it. And we believe that part of that work is building really transformative school models and supporting educators and getting the instruction, assessment, and leadership skills they need to successfully work in those classrooms and as principals and as district leaders. We do lots of work on the systems side, really helping districts define what transformation looks like and then really help them ensure the conditions are there to support transformation. And in everything we do, we really focus on transforming capacity, really building the knowledge, skills, and mindsets of educators and of leaders to do this work. We do that work in about 40 states. And we're really excited to have the opportunity to partner with you in Kentucky. I will leave it on this screen for a second. I know Maddie and the JCPS team will share these slides, so I'm not going to speak to all of this, but it is important you know who you're getting into partnership with. So we've been around for a dozen years. We do lots of really interesting work, and just believe that we talk so much as a field about agency and about equity. We believe we need to start building professional learning that really mirrors that. So we use a phrase in our organization, walk the talk. So this experience is really trying to walk the talk of learner agency and personalized learning and competency-based education. We have lots of choices in the higher ed landscape of who we can partner with, and we actually have lots of different partnerships around the country. For this master's degree, for this certificate and for master's degree program, we chose Southern New Hampshire University. We chose them for a couple of reasons. One is because they are really creative and nimble and innovative. You know, you'll see some of the accolades on this slide, but you know, they've built a $2,500 a year BA called College for America. They are one of the first universities to really take competency-based education seriously, and they're moving to one course, one competency, which is exciting. Lots of other innovations. We also selfishly chose them because we work in 40 states. They work in every time zone in the world and have current students and graduates in every time zone. So we wanted a partner that could move with us around the country to support districts we work with around the country. Okay, so what is this program? Um, the core objective of this program is to really build a vanguard of change agents in JCPS with the skills and dispositions needed to drive transformation in classrooms and at the systems level, regardless of role. And I should underline regardless of role, because currently in the program and folks we're talking to for the Kentucky cohort, um, there are teacher leaders, there are instructional coaches, there are building leaders. In a couple of places outside of Kentucky right now, we have some systems leaders, folks in central offices. So this program is for all of the above. Um, our belief is that by building a diverse team of teacher leaders, building leaders, and systems leaders, we really can build meaningful capacity and spread the change that we all seek. Kind of all of you who are considering this program, I'm very confident, are cutting edge educators who have at times felt limited by your classroom, by your building, by the system. So this is a program that really grounds you in an opportunity to deepen your skills, get some initials, whether it's a certificate after your name, whether it's a master's. We're also offering this for a CAGS, which is a Certificate of Advanced Graduate Study, which folks for whom this is not their first master's, lots of people opt for the CAGS. So regardless of who you are, you're coming to this because you're transforming wherever you sit and you need to deepen your skill set. And then also this program is focused on instruction, assessment, and leadership. So we believe that's important. And finally, this idea of what problems are you trying to solve? So this is really focused on helping you solve problems individually and as a cohort. And I'll get into that in a moment. But the core objective is really, this is wildly successful, and JCPS has 30 or 40 folks who were already rock stars by themselves, but have now deepened their skill sets and are beginning to work together and getting trained together to tackle problems and pursue opportunities for the district. Okay, there are 4 core design principles for the program. And you know what I'm going to do, Maddie? I'm going to shut off my Slack. So if we can stop for 1 sec. I forgot to shut off my Slack notifications. All right, there we go. All right. So there are 4 core design principles for this work. The first design principle is that this models the competency-based education experience. It does it in a couple of ways. First of all, competency-based education assumes move on when ready, but not until ready. So learners in this program have an option on day 1 of a term to self-assess where they are against the competencies and go directly to a standalone task, or they could dip into a course, figure out that they kind of need to bone up on some parts of the content and then go to the assessment, or they can move linear logically from day 1 to week 15 in some terms, week 8 in other terms, and then take the assessment. So we really want the learner to move based on the learner's self-assessment of knowledge and skills. The second reason this models the competency-based education experience is, and I said this a few minutes ago, this is all about demonstrating evidence, being able to kind of show and tell. So show what you know and can do and be able to explain it, versus in many traditional programs, pre-service and in-service, degree programs ask you to write a paper. This is not at all about a paper. It's about being able to demonstrate that you can bring evidence from your classroom, from your instructional coaching, from your role as a principal, concrete evidence, and we'll go deep into evidence as we get into and launch the program if you join us, about the program, about your work. This is really about adult learner centered. So that's a core design principle. Every learner in this program has a learner profile. Every learner will be building a portfolio of their work, and every learner at the end will be presenting and defending their learning, at the course level, and then there's a culminating presentation of learning, not dissimilar from the portfolio defenses associated with the backpack. This work really is about valuing collaborative and individual learning. So there are a set of teaching and learning experiences that can be individual. We'll ask for individual work. There's a set of learning experiences that are focused on leadership, and those are really looking for collaborative work throughout a course. So there's a constant play between building your own personal skills and knowledge and working with others to use this content to address problems and opportunities in your context. And then authentic and relevant. So we deeply believe as an organization in applied learning. I think I learn better, as I think a lot of people learn better when it's not just theoretical, but the theory gets to be applied. So all of this work is anchored to problems of practice and opportunities in your practice. And that's the lens through which you do the tasks at the end of every course or whenever you hit it time-wise, but within every learning experience. So it's a huge driver here. This is about job-embedded learning. It's not about, oh, I've got to go to school now. I've got to go to course now. I've got to go to class now. No, no, no. This is your work. And this is just a prism to look through your work and address problems and opportunities in that work. All right. So I mentioned a few minutes ago leadership and teaching and learning. I will now also mention skills and dispositions. So there are 3 competency families that this work is laying out in great detail for you, and you'll be measured against throughout the learning experience. So the first are a set of teaching and learning competencies. A successful graduate in this program will know and be able to do and demonstrate an understanding and an application around learner agency. How do you build effective relationships with learners? How do you create a safe, culturally responsive environment for learners? What are the pedagogic approaches to learner-centered culture? Competency-based instruction really looks at how do you engage learners in ways that promote them as the owners of their learning, and how are you thinking about a continuum from competency-based instruction to deeper learning to personalized learning. Competency-based assessment is really an opportunity to think about assessment for learning rather than assessment of learning. So there's a continuum of courses here that move you from assessment foundations, which focuses on formative assessment, to the development, like to performance assessments. So how do I design, how do I facilitate, how do I assess performance tasks, to moving toward a body of evidence. How do I support learners to build a body of evidence? How do I support them to self-assess, peer assess? And that's kind of moving toward that idea of what is a portfolio defense and how do I really help learners build the skill set to be successful at portfolio defenses. It's an example of a body of evidence. Leveraging competencies is a learning experience that really focuses on what are high quality competencies, what's the difference between a competency and a standard, how do I think about competencies, not just within my grade or my building, but really vertically across a system, as progressions, to really kind of create a rubber band and allow learners to move when ready and to stretch the skill sets of educators to understand the content above and below so you can really better meet learners' needs. So a really rich set of competencies around teaching and learning. Oops. There are also 5 competencies for the leadership experience within the program. So the first one is being able to understand and make the case for competency-based education. We have a course called the What and Why of Competency-Based Education, and it really unpacks, why is this good for me as an educator? Why is this good for my school? Why is this good for my system? And helps you be able to make the case. We have learning experiences around visionary leadership, leading change. How do I, and again, not role-based leadership, but from where I sit in my building or in my system, how can I lead change? And this really focuses on a lot of the adaptive skills and change management necessary to help move lots of the exciting ideas that are percolating in JCPS, from ideas to really strong implementation. There's a course on competency-based infrastructure. So what are the grading and reporting systems like this look for? How do we really think concretely about equity, not as a concept, but as the structures and cultures and practices that we have to interrogate, in our classrooms and in our buildings? And then how do we think about leveraging technology to support this work? And then there's an exciting course on capacity to transform. So one of the biggest levers of change, we strongly believe, is professional learning. Far too often, professional learning is, it's 1979, and we've got teachers in rows, and we're bored out of our minds, and we're not respected as professionals. So this is a really fun learning experience that challenges you and your context to rethink professional learning. And then there's a set of cross-cutting skills and dispositions that we are looking for. So within every course, there's a culminating task, whether you take it on day one or day 100. In those tasks, in addition to looking for you to demonstrate competency on teaching and learning or leadership topics, we're also continually looking for demonstration of a learning orientation, educator agency, and equity orientation, professional collaboration, and the ability to champion change in your context. All right, so who are the ideal learners for this? There's no right answer. Teachers, instructional coaches, principals, district leadership, folks who believe strongly in the power and potential of student-centered learning, but know that there's more for them to understand, or know that they want an MED or a CAGS after their name, because that's an important thing as they're growing, as you're growing on your path within the district. So lots of different successful archetypes of learners. Portrait of a graduate. I'll let you digest this slide on your own, but we've created two types of learners in the program. And this is a dated slide, so we would change the wording on this. There are teachers, and then there are those who support teachers. So we've got a profile A, teacher, and a profile B, people who support teachers. But we're really looking for people who, again, believe strongly in student-centered learning and need to build out their knowledge of instruction, their knowledge of assessment, their knowledge of leadership with student-centered learning, competency-based education as a focal point. All right, the program model. So the program has 3 blocks. There is a first block that is for a certificate. And that is roughly a 9-month learning experience for 15 credits. And then blocks 2 and 3 have kind of melded together. So at the end of block 1, at the beginning of block 1, you have a choice whether you want to go for the master's or go for a certificate. At the end of block 1, you will have an opportunity to successfully have completed your certificate and walk across the stage, or say, you know what, I would like to continue into blocks 2 and 3. And blocks 2 and 3 are an additional 21 credits, an additional 9 months. So over 18 months, you have an opportunity to earn a master's or a certificate of advanced graduate study. This program is blended. So it is in person. There are about 8 in person days for the full master's CAGs in state. So there will be other districts joining JCPS. So we're figuring out all of those details right now. But there will likely be some of the face to faces will be in JCPS, some might be in Shelby County. We're going to find a central location that works for all learners. The in-person days, we'll work with you all as a cohort to figure out what works for the majority of folks. But typically, we end up doing during the school year, the in-person days will be 9 to 4 on a Saturday. And then in the summer, they'll be 9 to 4 during the work week. And those days will fall in both school year and summer based on how the program calendar works. The other thing about the program is assessment is really a set of approaches. There's a lot of self-assessment that takes place for you to determine your pathway, the courses you end up taking, because for all the teaching and learning courses, there are 2 options based on interest and based on a continuum of your readiness. There's peer feedback, so you're constantly learning. In addition to in person, there is online synchronous teach-ins for professors, and then there's online asynchronous learning. And peers are often engaging with you and giving you feedback. And then obviously, professors are giving you formative feedback and summative feedback. The cost of the program. So the cost of the program for the Block 1 certificate is $7,000. For Blocks 2 and 3, it's an additional $7,400 for the masters or the CAGs. And Maddie, do you want to speak to the financial arrangements that JCPS is supporting here?
Yes. So before I get to that, just to be clear, what we're looking at are the totals. So Block 2 isn't an additional 11,700, but instead additional 4,700, totaling 11,700.
Yeah, that's completely right. And we should amend this slide. I think I used slightly different slides when I was in Louisville a couple of weeks back.
It's okay. Make sure that
we'll share that presentation. But basically, there's a Block 1 certificate, and then there's a Block 2, which is now the Masters in CAG. So we'll simplify that.
So in terms of financial responsibility, right now, JCPS is able to fund acquisition of the certificate. Beyond the certificate, participants would hold the responsibility for funding the rest of the masters or the CAGs acquisition. We're always looking for funding to alleviate that financial responsibility for teachers, but where we are right now today is that JCPS is able to fund the certificate only.
Okay, and folks who are interested in the full degree, be it masters or CAGs, have an opportunity to apply for financial aid once they indicate that they want to participate in the full program. So again, at the beginning of Block 1, if you know you'd like to pursue the entire learning experience, you can apply for financial aid at that point. Mm-hmm. If at the end of Block 1 and a certificate in hand, you want to continue, at that point, you would matriculate as a full program student, and you could apply at that point.
Yes, and in addition to financial aid, based on some more traditional avenues, scholarships applying through SNHU, that kind of thing. Don't forget, JCPS folks, that we do have a grants and awards department that would be able to help steer you in the right direction as to where to find some things that might apply to your professional learning aspirations. But we can talk more about that, how to access those aids and stuff further down the road when you decide you want to pursue the full masters.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Maddie. So the final slide here has some materials online. There was a Competency Works did a small caselet in this summer or fall of 2018. We put out a blog, the Dean of the School of Ed and myself, in the summer of 2018, and then just the Southern New Hampshire website. So you can reach out directly to me with questions. If they are of the program-related nature, or if they are of the university-related nature, I can field them and forward them to our partners at SNHU if I need to. If they are of a JCPS nature, I think Maddie would be a great person. So I'm Adam at tworevolutions.net. Maddie, we'll throw Maddie's information on this slide as we distribute the slides.
And then I just want to say on our recording as well, a question that I've gotten from a few folks, and I confirmed with Dr. Smith earlier today, is whether or not these programs will build towards or contribute towards a rank change in Kentucky. And the answer is today, we don't know, but we're working on learning more about some of the regulations and stuff to make that happen. But right now, we can't make any commitments to that. But we can look at some of the other things that JCPS specifically offers, like your plus 15 beyond a BA or beyond a master's. Those are just based on credit hours, so that's something that that would apply. But in terms of an official rank change, we're still working on that, so we don't have a definitive answer for that right now. Adam, another question that I've gotten is around the pacing, which we talked about how the blocks are set up, and this is competency based. So can you talk a little bit about say the first day of classes in January, what would the next few weeks look like for me?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we are still putting the finishing touches on the schedule for the Kentucky cohort. But what I can say is that we're leaning toward a 16-week first term. So the term kicks off on January 12th. There will be an in-person in early February. So you'll have it'll kick off with a webinar welcoming you. You'll meet your professors for that term and the 2Rev team that's going to support you and your advisor. A month later, there will be an in-person, whether we choose to do it after school from 3:30 to 8:30 or as a Saturday, but basically a 4 to 6 hour block where we'll be in person. There will be an opportunity to, meet the whole cohort from JCPS, meet the cohorts from other districts. Essentially, you're one Kentucky cohort. And those days are really about a mix of team building and a mix of unpacking the competencies, and you'll be a month into your coursework. The first 3 courses, you'll have a course in instruction, a course in assessment, and a leadership course. So professors from each of those learning experiences will offer, teach-ins during that in-person day. We'll probably dig into your learner profile that day as well. So you're really setting goals for the coming weeks, and then you'll be completing coursework or going directly to the assessments over the subsequent weeks. And again, that first term is 16 weeks, and we'll do a mix of 16 and 8-week terms depending on the coursework that's being offered.
So for that first 16 weeks, participants will be taking 3 courses simultaneously, and they will finish those 3 courses at the conclusion of the 16 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, by the end of April, there will be 9 credits that you have completed, and then we'll go into a period of time, likely an April to August period, where the rest of block 1 will be completed.
Okay. And can participants expect to be taking 3 classes, 1 in each of those strands during each of the blocks?
No, that block is unique. So for the most part, you'll be taking 2 courses per block.
Okay.
That's roughly how it works.
Okay.
There is one term where you'll just be taking one course. You'll just be doing your culminating defensive learning. But for the most part, it's two with a couple of threes and probably one time where you'll be just doing one course.
Okay. Okay. Those are the biggest questions I'm getting from folks. So I wanted to make sure I ask those now.
All right. I want to share one more thing while we're on together, which is, and I'll share this with you as well. These are the educator competencies. So let's see if I can do this seamlessly. Yeah. So this educator competency framework you have seen. So these are the competencies which I showed you, but we also can share the performance indicators.
Okay.
And the learning progressions. So it's just helpful to kind of understand and unpack more of the detail. I think this version doesn't yet have our leadership competencies. So I think what I'll do is we'll beautify our leadership competencies. But the reason I share this is because I think it's really helpful for folks when we talk about assessment to know that we're looking at 3 performance indicators: feedback loops, performance assessment, and CBE grading and reporting. And then vertically on this, and I'll make it larger so folks can actually see these slides. These are ICANN statements against each of these from the level of developing to proficient to leading. And, within the program, we're really looking toward proficiency. It's been an interesting, and I'll save this for our in-person time together, but, understanding where the line is between growth and proficiency within a program like this has been a really important philosophical tug of war for us. We wanted to set a high bar, but we also need to meet learners where they are. So where we've ended up is this idea of growth moving toward proficiency over the arc of the experience. So, and in any event, I will share this with you and you can distribute it in the coming few weeks. But I want folks, if they have questions, certainly to reach out directly to either one of us.
Sure. Yes. Yeah, please do. And just to reiterate that point, program-specific questions, I think, are best directed to Adam. And then questions that are, kind of about our home base, the way that JCPS might share financial responsibility, what kind of support, those kinds of things. You're more than welcome to direct those to me at maddie.shepard, SHEPARD, at jefferson.kyschools.us. You can find my email on the JCPS website as well. So you can reach out to us if you have any questions that come up after you've had some time to process some of the details of this opportunity.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Maddie, and thank you all. And we're looking forward to having a really awesome and robust cohort. I think it'd be a great experience for all of you individually and for JCPS.
This is a program that's hard to find, and it's definitely cutting edge. So we're really excited to offer it to our innovative teachers. So thank you.